Real talk, our jaw hit the floor when we saw the list this week. We couldn't believe it. Like, what are we doing talking about this book at number 1?
That is the what the F book of the week for me.
Nearly $100,000 worth of comics just sold in the last 7 days. Let's talk about why. With number 10 on the list, Incredible Hulk number 340, McFarlane cover from 1984. Is this not one of the most popular, newer, like copper modern age covers? Some would say best of all time.
Definitely one of the most popular. If not, it's at least tied with another book on this list coming up later. But we had 9 sales of this book this week above the 12-month average, almost $3,000 spent. And this book at number 10, I haven't seen this low in a long time, if ever at the 10 spot. We have Hulk 340, Todd McFarlane greatness. You know this book. You know this book. We all know this book. But tell me the numbers this week.
9.6 selling for what it's been going for all year, a 9.8 going for $1,175. That's up 22%. That's the highest amount someone's paid for this book in grade thus far. And we only put that year high marker if there's been at least 5 copies that's sold. That book is up 22%. This is a classic cover. Gets homaged all the time. I thought it would be fun to look at high-selling eBay homages of Hulk 340 to see what people's interests are outside of the Incredible Hulk title.
Outside of this being an outstanding cover, the reason it's so fun to homage is the creativity you can have with it. And not all covers are like that. You can't homage everything to be as exciting as it can be. And this one, with the reflection of claws and a main character, you can play with it in so many different ways. We saw that with a Wolverine 155 Raw just sell for $50. People are loving the homages of this book. We saw Spawn 226. You have Clown, you have Spawn, you have Todd McFarlane, and that sells for $90 raw.
Mark Spear's Monsters has been in and off of our list for a long time. 9.8 hit $350 with Dracula and that reflection of Frankenstein. And let's not forget Miko Swyan's Marvel Zombies issue number 3, selling this week for $200 at a 9.8. Wolverine, Hulk, but both zombified.
Quick shout out to 3 people who were the first to comment on our last video. We have Hitman 2685, Ty Eccles 4798, Fast Eddie 8742. Thank you for having that bell on notifications and for being the first to comment in our video.
Make sure to subscribe to the channel while you're down there commenting while we move on to number 9 on the list with Uncanny X-Men issue number 94, the second appearance of the new X-Men team. 5 sales, over $3,000 worth of money's moved, and we have a 4.5 up 8%, 6.0 10%. Check out this year-high sale. $840. There's been 13 8.0s that have sold in 2025 thus far. That was an increase of 5%. The 9.0 is up 3%, selling for $13.01. The mutant era is coming for sure, but I also want to put aside some of the key significance of the X-Men title and hone in on one character in particular that makes his 3rd or 4th or 5th appearance in this book.
Don't start this, man. Don't. Listen, this is the 3rd full appearance of Wolverine. I don't want to hear about second cameos. I don't want to hear about 5th appearances, 4th appearances. This is the 3rd full appearance of Wolverine.
Let's break this down for any of the new viewers, because every so often we have to kind of remind people of the benchmarks that we have for the show to be consistent, in which not all the hosts even agree on the subject. We have Hulk 180, which features Wolverine in a comic for the first time. But this page that features him is the benchmark for me of what is the difference between a cameo, a brief introduction, versus a first full appearance. Because Hulk 181, by and large, not only sells for the most amount, but is considered to all collectors the first full appearance of the character.
Though I do say it's the 3rd full appearance, I only say that because it's what's considered in the hobby. I don't necessarily agree with it. If you look at issue 182, which predates the Giant Size X-Men 1 and X-Men 94, in theory, I think that should be his 2nd full appearance. He is in 3 panels on the very first page, wrapping up the story that started in the issue right before.
182 came out in 84 in December. Giant Size 1 came out in May 1975. We have either a 2nd full appearance happening there or a 3rd appearance if you count 182, and then we arrive at X-Men 94. All these things matter because this is the benchmark of what we apply to all other key books. I want to know your thoughts in the comment section below.
Last week, we had a viewer, Repick10, who commented, "Come on, guys, just say it. 181 is the second appearance of Wolverine."
And the debate rages on. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Well, we move on to number 8 on the list with Werewolf by Night number 32, the first appearance of Moon Knight. For a book that came out in 1975, I don't think it gets discussed enough just how tough of a book this is in high grade. There are only 22 9.8s on the census. For a book that came out in 1975, almost doesn't make sense.
This title in general is notoriously difficult in 9.8s. So to have something towards the last quarter of the run, which already print runs are smaller, and to have a dark cover, and to be a first appearance, to see this book at only 22 copies is an exact symbol of how those issues are that scarce in that type of grade.
The 3-0's up 3%, 6.5, 4%, 7.0 went for 951, up 10%, and the 8.5, 4 copies outdid the recent 12-month average, sold for $1,800. That's up 19%. Now, season 2 of Moon Knight seems like it's not happening, but Oscar Isaac's reprising the role seems like it is.
It's no shock seeing Moon Knight 1 on the list as many times as it has been to not have its first appearance finally here, especially when the market is so down and people are jumping in on some of these keys. And just to have a little bit of buzz is going to get you to snatch this book even faster. I am not going to be surprised if this book is on this list quite a few times more this year. But 8 sales in the last week, above the 12-month average, almost $10,000 spent. That's a big deal.
I think this is a good time for us to do a +2. This is when we pick 2 extra comics that we were inspired by to sprinkle on this list. But this comic is not on the trending. It's not on the Hot 10. But maybe you should consider it. Because if you can't afford a Moon Knight first appearance, take a look at Werewolf by Night issue number 33. If you think 32 is tough and high grade, there are only 11 9/8s of the second appearance. Not only that, we haven't seen a 9/8 sell since 2021, where it hit $13,000. Now, if you're considering this key book, you don't want to break the bank, you can get a raw copy for under 100 at 8.5, recently sold for $200.
If you're going to toss out this 33 card, then I'm going to add my +1 to being Strange Tales 169. If we're talking about characters in this universe such as Moon Knight and something more spooky potentially, I can just see the first appearance of Brother Voodoo coming in the near future and something that is on the down to pick up early and often if you can.
And to kind of piggyback on the supernatural spec that you're laying out there, number 7 on the list, Ghost Rider number 1 from 1973, the first solo title featuring Johnny Blaze Ghost Rider. The 9.4 is up 2%, the 9.6 up 8%, going for $27.99. And I don't know how I feel about these Johnny Blaze rumors over this last week. I really like Nicolas Cage Ghost Rider. Those first 2 movies are anytime movies for me. They're so silly and fun that I enjoy them. But we're hearing rumors that Nicolas Cage may reprise his role as Johnny Blaze in the MCU. And I would imagine it would be Secret Wars, because that's where it would make sense. We see this, like, huge battle take place where they can source a lot of characters and put them all in one place, similar to Endgame, which is what Secret Wars is trying to be. But if we see Nicolas Cage on Battle World or The Void or wherever this battle takes place, I don't think he's going to continue being Johnny Blaze henceforth, which means, yeah, we may see him in 2 to 3 years if there's no delays. But then how much longer until they actually get Ghost Rider proper on the big screen? It could be 4+ years, which is just absurd to me.
Preach it, brother. Preach it, because I agree with you. I am frustrated as you are about not getting Ghost Rider much sooner. We need the macabre. We need it as fast as possible. It is a big mistake to not have us get that in the next year, year and a half. You gave us stuff that we didn't want, Eternals, Marvels, etc. You took away Netflix stuff from us, and clearly that was a big mistake because Daredevil is amazing. So let's see some of the macabre back in the MCU.
Hot take. This next cover isn't that great. Amazing Spider-Man 300. First full appearance of Venom. Meh, we can talk about that another day. But this particular comic book does get homaged a lot. And similar to Hulk 340, I thought, hey, let's just pull up on eBay and see what homages people are buying. And there's a lot of them. But I had trouble picking them to showcase on the show. And I couldn't help but realize Hulk 340 is such a better cover.
Yeah, we kind of hinted at that at the beginning of this list, and this is what we were talking about. if you look price to price and the variety you get and the excitement of it and the amount of sales, you see those 340 homages are crushing it in comparison. Now, I'm not going to say ASM 300 doesn't sell for more or isn't in more demand than the Hulk 340. I'm just saying when you like take a look at homage to homage, there is a difference.
9.6 is up 10%. 3 copies outdid the recent 12-month average. The 9.8 up 2%, going for 28.10. Something intriguing as we're talking about Venom and the symbiotes and the black suit. We do not have ASM 252 or Secret Wars 8 on this list this week. More on that in a little bit because there's some very interesting books on this list. Number 1 had me shocked.
That is the what the F book of the week for me.
We covered the sale of the iconic Secret Wars 8 original interior art page, and that went for $3+ million.
$3.3 million for a Mike Zeck 2/3 page splash of this black suit Spidey.
ASM 252 had an interior page sell recently too, and we were wondering what the price would go for. I have to ask you, Jeff, do you think that the seller was happy with the $130 sale that took place?
Hell no, I would not be happy with this price. If I own this page and I'm comparing it and anybody owns a black suit Spidey, especially from a key issue as 252, really the true first appearance of this suit, to have it only go for $130,000, I would have expected it to go for, oh God, at least $400,000. I mean, it's not as great of an artist as Mike Zeck, but still, I mean, I expected more out of this page.
Number 5 on the list is Giant Size X-Men number 1. Ooh, we kind of alluded to it earlier. The second full appearance of Wolverine, the third full appearance of Wolverine, doesn't really matter. The first appearance of the new team. We have a 6.5 selling for $2K. That's a year-high sale. 6.0 and 4.0, by the way, all had year-high sales this week too. 7.5 up 3%, and an 8.0 clocked in a year-high sale of $36.05. The mutant era is coming, but not for quite a while. And while people are focusing on Daredevil and they're focusing on the Fantastic Four, we can't help but notice there is a interest in the mutants. Is this not the safest but also most long-term spec blue chip keys that people are buying right now?
The X-Men IP is where people are going. I was shocked to see people not jumping on the Daredevil wagon at this last convention, shockingly. A lot of people brought Daredevil books, and all they said is like, no one's buying Daredevil, but they were buying mutants, Giant Size X-Men, X-Men 94, X-Men 1s, X-Men 3s. I've seen multiple posts of X-Men 3s on Instagram. I saw a 9.6, I saw a 9.0 someone picked up at a store. There is just mutants moving all over the board when it comes to this IP.
I'm feeling like a renewed excitement happening in 2025 as it pertains to collecting books, but also those big keys. I felt it at Emerald City this past weekend. I felt it in February at MegaCon. And number 4 on the list is Daredevil number 1. Because although we may not have seen a whole lot of traction at Emerald City this last weekend, I did pick up my first Daredevil number 1. I own it. I feel good about it. Foggy Nelson, Karen Page, their first appearance.
Good pickup.
We have a 1.5 that went for $14.71, up 9%, 2.5 up 9%, 3.0 10%, and a 5.5 sold for $45.79. That's up 21%. I did put my Journey 83 3.0 white pager into the deal to make it happen. So I no longer have Thor. I moved on to Daredevil 1 because I'm optimistic about Daredevil. The prices make sense. And personally, after having gone through the Netflix shows to refresh myself for Daredevil Born Again and being 2 episodes into this Netflix series, I'm just hyped on Daredevil.
I'm hyped on you not talking about Daredevil anymore because you talk about it every damn week, to the fact that you had to go back and watch every single season of Daredevil and anything encompassing that character.
But how great are those first 2 episodes of Born Again?
Watch the first 2 episodes. It was outstanding, in my opinion. This show has been sorely missed, and I forgot how special it was with what we had with the Netflix and where we are 7 years later it took to get here.
If you like what we do, you want to support the show, I want to send you comics every single month. 1 per box, Thundercats number 13, Mark Spears Lion-O. Hit the link in the description. We send you 4 to 5 comics. Let's move on to the next number on the list. Number 3, Avengers number 1. Is this not the greatest blue chip Marvel key that is a non-first appearance? Is there anything better than Avengers 1?
Oh, I definitely have a book to compare it to, but let's look at the Avengers numbers first before we even get into that. We had a 1.0 up 11% for 1350. The 5.0 had a year high sale of $5,000. That's up 7%. And the 5.5, $5,800. That's up 11%.
So what's the book that you would compare? Because keep in mind, Avengers 1, yeah, it's the first appearance of the Avengers, but there's no actual first appearance of any character on that team.
True, but if I had to compare blue chip to blue chip, the book I was thinking was Amazing Spider-Man #1. It's not his first appearance because he appeared in Amazing Fantasy 15 first. It's his second appearance, but it is his first appearance in his own title.
All right, so I pulled out some numbers to compare these books. I want to know your thoughts of which one you would pick. Same price, obviously different grades. And let me know in the comment section if you were hit with this decision, what would you pick? An Avengers 1 at a 7.5 is $14,000. An Amazing Spider-Man 1 at a 5.0 is $14,000. Do you go with the Avengers 1.75 or do you go with the ASM 1.50?
If I had to say right now in front of everybody, I think the 7.5 Avengers 1 is going to entice me more at $14K than the ASM in a 5.0.
Interesting. All right, well, let's take a look at a lower grade copy. Let me know in the comment section. An Avengers 1 at a 5.0 is $5,000 right now. Same price, Amazing Spider-Man 1, 2.0. Do you go with the 2.0 or the 5.0 Avengers 1?
That's a tough one.
Because the ASM 1 would sell better.
Yeah, because it's an entry-level grade, and the 5.0 is an entry-level grade for Avengers 1. But the 5.0 would probably be so much nicer, and $5,000 just sounds like such a good price for that book. Oh, boy, this is a tough one. I'm going to just say Avengers 1.
I'm excited to see the comments. Let me know. We may show you on the screen. Well, we move on to number 2 on the list with Amazing Spider-Man 129. Do you think people are selling their first appearance of Punisher too early at this point?
Oh, I'm going to answer that. But first, download Key Collector. Get that app. It's going to help you figure out any books you know and all the books you don't.
Code Tom101 supports the show but gets you access to a free 2-week subscription of the app in its entirety. But if you don't want to do that and you want to get it for free, you need it. You just need to have this on your phone. You're going to learn so much about comics, and it's going to categorize everything, suggested pricing, all of that. Download Key Collector. What do you think? ASM 129, are people doing themselves a disservice by selling it right now?
That's a tough call, but for me, I'm at the point where I'm actually selling this book right now, but I might be leaving a little money on the table. I do think there's still room for growth. But right now, there's so many other cool books that I'm trying to get into that are blue chips. As we've discussed on this list, a lot of stuff is down. And I think I might want to jump into an Avengers 1 or an X-Men 1.
Well, let's see what some people sold this week. An 8.0 went up 4%, going for $1,874. A 9.0 hit $2,900. That's a year-high sale, up 14%. And a 9.4 went for $3,961, up 8%. Up nearly $500 when you compare it to the recent 12-month average because, of course, Daredevil Born Again, John Berthol's coming back, probably going to be in episode 3. By the time you're watching this, he's probably back from the Netflix days. We all celebrate, especially when we found out that he's going to be not only part of the creation of the special, but that there's going to be a Punisher special on Disney+.
Tell me how.
Yeah.
Because I don't have the answers. Explain to me how this book is here at number 1.
Real talk, our jaw hit the floor when we saw the list this week. We couldn't believe it. Like, what are we doing talking about this book at number 1? The number 1 hottest book in the world is a double key. It's Fantastic Four, annual number 6, the first appearance of Franklin Richards and Annihilus out of nowhere.
I know. There is no freaking way. Anybody who watches our list, we make these videos in these lists. And I never expected this book to be here, that you guys would have seen this at number 1.
Between 3.0 and 8.5, every single grade has trended above the recent 12-month average. This right here is a pure spec play. There is no confirmation of either of these characters, but there's high likelihoods for both of them. Fantastic Four is going to be a dominant spec play all throughout 2025 if this movie is even half good. On the low end, a 3.0 you can get for $112, up 10%. We had 5 different year-high sales in 3.5, 4.0, 4.5, 6.5, and 7.5. And then on the high end, the 8.5 hit $650, up 12%. I think it's because it's more affordable than all these other books that people are speccing on.
There has to be some truth to that because you have the affordability of it, the availability of it, because it's fairly common unless you start getting really up there in the 9.0 range or higher, and the interest. And also, why don't we add in a fourth thing, the double key factor that we talked about of really two important characters, a Nihilus, which can be an unbelievable villain, and then another hero, or possibly could even be another villain with Franklin Richards.
What do you think about this? Like the amount of sales that were presented with this week on this comic book with no like certainty that either of these characters are going to take off. It just shows a clear interest in people wanting to purchase comic books, you know? Yeah, it's more affordable, but also the fun behind the speculation and investing, I think is being proven right here with this number above all else.
Anything can happen. It feels like a new beginning for the MCU because there is energy in the air. So any character in the next couple years would not shock me or what they're going to do with them. And now to have the entry point being so low for so many key books on all levels and spectrum of collectors, that we're just seeing people picking up everything and anything that even has a possibility of being on the screen.
Let me know what you think about this in the comment section below. And of course, as always,
Geek responsibly.
enough said. Join our SMS group. We're giving away a signed Mark Spears Monsters at the end of the trending video. All you have to do is join our SMS group by going to comictom.com. I'll put the link in the description. Put your phone number in, and then you're part of all of the weekly giveaways we do henceforth. Do it once, you're in as long as you're part of the group.